Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. It's a big week, kids. Very big week. But quickly, a couple things. First of all, let's see what we got new back here. We got Bowie, Batman the Outsiders. We have what do we have? Oh, the Captain Action reprint from the era of DC. One of my favorites, the Johnny Constantine, one of the young adult books. Night Force by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan, really wonderful book. Batman Little Gotham by Dustin Nguyen. Enigma, which was originally a Vertigo book. Thankfully reprinted in a really nice deluxe hardcover from Dark Horse. And then How to Talk to Girls at Parties, the Neil Gaiman story with artwork by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba. The Bowie book's really amazing because all the artwork's done by David Bowie. This Batman The Outsiders is the later period Mike Barr's wonderful team-up book. Originally, the artist was Jim Aparo. But this is the Alan Davis period. It's really some of his first American work because he did a lot of work in Europe. But before we get started, there was some very sad news this week. John Ramsey Sr. passed away the other day. He was 93, I believe, and he really kind of became post Ditko the Spider-Man artist. He worked on the book for quite a while, and then he became the art director at Marvel Comics. And one of the things that he was very well known for was encouraging and kind of paying forward. Developing, people and talent and stuff. He was always in the bullpen. He'd help new artists and, help them to be better. And, he really inspired and a lot of people, and he was really one of the nicest people you could ever meet. I met him years and years ago at San Diego Comic-Con. Just the nicest guy you could ever meet. So condolences to his family and, of course, his son, John Ramsey Jr., who became an artist too. But his legacy really is really one of the great things about art and artists and stuff like that, because it'll continue to inspire people many generations to come, readers, artists, writers, all those kind of things. That's what's great about art, is that it will continue to inspire. So I'm still kind of recovering from the cold from last week. It's gotten better, but still a little here and there, a little bit of a sore throat. So I may have to take some water while we're doing this. But lots of stuff to get through, so we're just going to get right into it. First of all, DC Pride Through the Years one shot. Okay, so this reprints 3 stories, and then there's a new story. So it reprints Flash 53 by William Messenger Loebs, with pencils by Greg Larcat and Jose Marzan Jr. Detective Comics 854, written by Greg Rucka, with J.H. Williams III on artwork. And Supergirl 19, written by Steve Orlando and Vita Ilea. With artwork by Jamal Campbell, and the news story in here, Alan Scott, the Green Lantern Past prologue, written by Tim Sheridan and Cyan Tormey. So I'm not really going to go over the reprints so much. I will point out why they're key moments in DC Pride history. The Flash issue is basically the coming out of Pied Piper, the Flash villain. Really good story there. The Batwoman obviously is the Kate Kane, who came out as a lesbian in the book, and then the Supergirl was really the first. Maybe first mainstream, we'll say, of a non-binary character that was introduced. Lee Serrano was introduced in that book, and that was pretty moving forward for the time for the mainstream. Now there had been some other books. Most notably, one of the earliest DC books that dealt with the LGBT community was Camelot 3000, because it came out because it wasn't part of the comics code, that Tristan, that character, was bisexual. Well, because originally in the story it was a man, but when she was reincarnated as a woman in that particular story. There's a great introduction of kind of going through the years of LGBTQ in DC history. The Alan Scott story, which is new, it was, was kind of excited because Alan Scott has now come out as gay. And obviously being an older hero, that was kind of an interesting twist. But the downside to this, it's just a prologue. There's a series coming out in September with a mini series coming out with Alan Scott. This is just a prologue, so it's neat and everything, but it's basically reprints and then a short introduction to a story. Once again, I think it's great that they're reprinting these stories and everything. I just, it's kind of a hard sell at the price point, but it is good. I mean, they're definitely very good stories, and they definitely chose three really great stories to tell. I think it was just like, I was hoping that the Green Lantern was more of a self-contained story, which it isn't. So I like the story and everything, and the art was really nice by Kane Tormey, but it's just, it's a setup. So, so take that, with, where you want to go with that one. Like I said, it's a little pricey for reprints, but it's a good reprint. Next up, we have Xeno #1. So this has 4 short stories. There's Hugh written by Melissa Flores and Daniel with artwork by Daniel Izari. Rabbit Trap, written by Jordan Thomas, with artwork by Shaky Kane. She Took the Air, written and drawn by Phil Hester. And then there's The Chip, which is written by Christopher Condon, with artwork by Nick Caganetti. So these are kind of like, it's an anthology. They're kind of like horror / Twilight Zone type stories. The first one, Hugh, is this guy, this blind guy gets new eyes. Basically, they're like kind of digital eyes, and the thing is, they're actually better than eyes because they can see. And he basically sees like these creatures that are apparently like in the air that we don't see, and then they feed off of us at night while we sleep. And he hasn't slept. He has these nightmares. That one's really an interesting story. I like that, and I like the artwork. Rabbit Trap was really interesting because it's set in 1963, during the Cold War, and it's about this guy who moves to a new house, a new neighborhood. And, he's all like Russian commies. Everybody's a Russian commie. And these neighbors next door have rabbits, and I don't want to give it away, but it's quite a twist. I was really kind of surprised by that. She Took to the Air by Phil Hester was, for me, kind of the weakest one. I love Phil Hester. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic end of the world, and it's just like the story's a little convoluted about these kids who become like warriors, because of their parents. I don't know. It was a little confusing, and I didn't really care for it, which is kind of a shame because the artwork's really nice because I like Phil Hester. I just think the story just kind of like just didn't make any sense in that short period. And then The Chip is about a VR chip that's implanted into this kid by this gaming company, and what it basically does is he actually murders somebody for the company, but he thinks it's a VR game and it's not actually a game. So there's that. It was interesting. I think if you like anthologies and you kind of like those Twilight Zone type stories, it's worth checking out. Like I said, the only one for me that just didn't gel for me was She Took to the Air. I don't think it was terrible. I just didn't quite hit me very well. But I think it's worth checking out. Like I said, they're neat. 3 of the stories are really good, and I think it's you can buy it on that alone. Next up, we have Black Panther #1, written by Al Ewing, with pencils by Chris Allen and inks by Allen and Craig Young. What's interesting about this, and there's really, yes, Black Panther is in the book. He's not the king anymore of Wakanda. He's kind of been semi-exiled, but he comes back to Wakanda kind of, I guess in a way it's a little Batman-y in the sense of, he kind of stays in the shadows and he helps people and stuff. And he kind of wants to regain, not necessarily to be a king, but kind of where he can be Black Panther. This is a real, it's kind of an extra long first issue, but it's pure exposition. It really setting things up and really moody. I liked it. I wouldn't say that I loved it, but it's also kind of one of those, it's a real setup, so it's hard to tell where exactly it's going to go from this first issue, but I think I think there's some really good, interesting concepts that Ewing is putting into place. I also like the fact that it's not just, here's another superhero book. Here's Black Panther. He's going to beat up people and stuff. So I did appreciate that aspect of it. Alan's artwork's really nice. It's a really good looking book. I think it's worth checking out. Like I said, you're not, just be aware that it's pretty much pure exposition for this first issue. It's really setting things up here. Next up, we had Void Rivals #1, written by Robert Kirkman, with artwork by Lorenzo D. Felici. So basically, the cat's out of the bag. This is that Skybound, Robert Kirkman's company within Image, has gotten the license for Transformers and G.I. Joe. And really what this is, it's a setup, at least for Transformers. So what it is think of like the U.S. and Russia. They're fighting. These two fighters crash on this planet, and they basically, both their ships are damaged, but if they work together, they might be able to get a ship so they can get out of there. They're not supposed to talk to each other, but it's semi-Cold War type stuff. And then they discover on this planet that there's a transformer, and that's the setup there. Once again, I think the big thing to take away from this is, not only do they have the Transformer license, but in September, I believe it's September, October, Daniel Warren Johnson's doing a Transformers book. It's like, shut up and take my money. This, I wouldn't say that I was overwhelmed with this. I'm not like the hugest Transformers fan. I like the Transformers and everything. I think the question kind of comes up with this is, where's it going to go? I mean, obviously this is kind of a setup, but is it going to really deal with the Transformers? Is it going to deal with like these two warring fractions? I think there's going to be a lot of speculation as far as like, people are going to go bananas, because I think it's already sold out at the publisher. But the thing is, reading it was okay. The artwork by Delfoshi was really nice. I don't think it is certainly not as good as his miniseries, the color one that he did. But the artwork's nice, and it gets, does really well. The question is really, I think, the second issue, where's this story going to go in this particular thing? But once again, I'm excited about Daniel Warren Johnson doing the Transformers. I'm excited about Daniel Warren Johnson doing anything. But just to let you know, I wouldn't pay more than cover price for this, in the sense of they are going to probably do a second printing. So if you just want to read it, definitely, if you want to read it, don't spend more than the cover price. And I'm not saying that because it's bad. I'm just saying the speculators are probably all over this already. So it's already probably inflated. Next up, we have Green Lantern #2, written by Jeremy Adams, with artwork by Zermanico. And then there's the John Stewart story backup, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with artwork by Motos. So this continues, Hal is back on Earth. He's basically Green Lantern, but Sector 2814, which is kind of Earth, has been quarantined because the space planets have taken over. And Hal doesn't quite, he's kind of Green Lantern. He doesn't kind of know what to do. He wants to get back with Carol, but Carol's in a relationship with somebody. So it's kind of like there's, at the beginning of this issue, there's some really nice action stuff, which is kind of continues from the first issue, but a lot of it is how kind of soul searching and finding himself, that I really have to give Adams. That's what these books should be about. It should be about Hal Jordan. The Green Lantern stuff, comes easy after that. Make it about Hal Jordan and what he's going through, and which is what exactly Adams is doing here. So Manico's artwork is this is a really gorgeous book. There's a 2-page spread in a graveyard that's just gorgeous. I mean, the artwork's amazing. The Jon Stewart backup I'm liking, but it's just a little short story, so it's really kind of hard to kind of see where it's going to go. But I like the story, and Moto's his artwork's really, really good. It's really nice. It's just kind of with these two little shorts, it's kind of hard to tell where it's going to go. But overall, I'm still liking Green Lantern. It's well worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Frank Frazetta's Mothman #1. Written by Tim Hedrick, with part of the artwork done by Andrea Mutai and Gigi Baldassian, and then the rest of the book is drawn by Luis Gargana. So what this is Frank Frazetta did a painting with this Mothman, and so what they are doing is they're creating stories for these characters. And so what it is Mothman's an alien who's crash lands on the Earth, and he crash lands in like Kentucky or something like that. That's the best way I can describe it. So you have these interesting people that live in the area, like moonshiners, I guess that's the best way to describe it. And Mothman kind of becomes like a Bigfoot. That's kind of the rough cue of the story. And it was interesting. I mean, I was disappointed that Mutai didn't do the entire issue because I really like his artwork, but Garganga does a nice job of finishing it up. It was a fun little story. I'll see what the second issue brings. It was interesting considering this story came out of like just a painting. So I think it's worth looking into. It was kind of fun for a first issue. Next up, we have Ghostlore #2, written by Colin Bunn with artwork by Leo Max. So in the first issue, Lucas and Harmony, the father who is a preacher, and they were in a car accident. It killed her brother and her mom. And so, but within the accident, they're able now to see spirits. And part of it is the spirits, need them to release them, basically. And so what this issue does is we kind of see that where, Lucas is at home and a doctor comes, but we find out that this doctor who did his surgery had this like spirit invade him after the surgery, because he basically this lady had a brain tumor. They went in and this spirit came out and started killing everybody in the OR, and so it's part of him. So it's interesting how Bunn is, it's helping people kind of pass the other side, but then there's also people that may not be like human anymore in some respects. So it was really interesting, really interesting. I'm a big fan of Leo Max. He did Basket Full of Heads for DC at the Hill House Comics, and I really like that his artwork a lot. This is an interesting book. Like I said, the second issue really kind of built out nicely of what kind of the spirit world and kind of what they want. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Next up, we have Spider-Man India #1, written by Nikesh Shakula. Pardon my, hopefully I got that right. And Abarish Malsuni with pencils, and Scott Hanna doing inks. So here's my basic take. If you're a longtime Spider-Man reader, you're going to notice that this is pretty much retelling stories that have already been told, but in a slightly different way. So it's kind of the introduction of the Lizard, the introduction of this Spider-Man from India and stuff, and it definitely is built out kind of from Spider-Man across the multiverse. because Peter and Miles shows up at the beginning to India, or this Earth India. But here's the interesting thing. Like I said, I think for regular, people are really up on Spider-Man who've read Spider-Man for years. I don't know that you're going to particularly be overwhelmed by this book because, like I said, you're kind of you're telling the same story in a slightly different way. But with that being said, I think in a lot of respects, this is really good for somebody who's just getting into Spider-Man and maybe interested in like this version of Spider-Man. So in some respects, I do appreciate the book because it's definitely very new reader friendly, which is good because if somebody kind of comes in, they may know stuff from the movies and stuff, but they're not going to know every single little story. So that's kind of where, in some respects that, this all kind of works for new readers. And like I said, I think if you're a regular Spider-Man reader, I don't think you're going to hate the book. I mean, I enjoyed it. But I don't think it really breaks any new ground for a regular reader. The artwork by Musani and Hannah it's a really nice looking book. But like I said, I think it's geared a little bit more towards new readers, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Next up, we have The Giant Kokju, number 3, written by Gary Dugan with artwork by Scott Koblish. Well, first of all, this is a satire, basically a satire, very not safe for work satire of Giant Kokju who's come to San Francisco to basically, screw the city literally. And so we find out this issue that the U.S. had built a giant robot to like battle these things. And, that's kind of what it is. I don't want to give any more away. Look, it's just fun. I mean, this is not mind-numbingly brilliant, and it's not meant to be. I mean, Dugan and Koblish just are having fun. It's a parody of kaijus and giant monsters and robots and stuff, and it's just like a non-safe for safe for work version of it, and it's just silly fun, and that's what I loved about it. I think the thing is, I saw one review that really just thought it was stupid, and and it is. But, just take it at face value. It is what it is. And I kind of like the really the fun tongue-in-cheek aspect of it all. But once again, that's going to be everybody's taste. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a blast. And, it's just silly fun. So there you go with that. Next up, we have Spirit World number 2, written by Alyssa Wong with artwork by Hanning. Cassandra Cain's stuck in the spirit world, and so Xanth and Constantine are trying to get back to the spirit world so they can rescue her. And so before they head back, Xanth goes back to her home, and her mother, they know, or her sister knows that she's been kind of keeping an eye on them after she died as a child. And so, they've been trying to get back, and they find out that her sister is the key to opening the door to go back to Spirit World. And of course, when they go back to Spirit World, things don't work out as well as they had hoped getting back. They get back, but things kind of come at them along the way. I'm really liking this book. I really like how Wong is handling the Xanth character, and of course, throwing John Constantine in this is always a win. I love John Constantine, and it's really I'm really enjoying this book. Hanning, the artwork's really nice. I like. I like the whole, mystic side of the DC universe, and this is really fitting in quite nicely. Next up, we have Something Epic number 2, written and drawn by Seisman Kadrinsky. Excuse me. Sorry. So what this is, so Danny basically has this power, kind of power of imagination, and he also kind of is able to bring things to life. It's kind of a power that we learned about in the first issue and the second issue, but the second issue really deals with why he is kind of introverted. It's because his mom has cancer, and so he's having to kind of deal with like that reality, and but it also inspires his imagination, and when we also find out that when he creates stuff in his imagination, it can bleed into the real world. So we kind of see that. We got a glimpse of that in the first issue, but now we actually see that those imaginations can kind of can really interact with the real world. So it's really interesting. This one I really like. Also like how Kredinsky is laying this story out. It's a slow burn book, but I think it's really good because especially this issue, we really kind of get to know Danny even better than the first issue, which is really what, really great character development. And of course, the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. It's a really gorgeous book, but just like, like I said, it's kind of a slow burn. This is going to be, not, action oriented. There's a little action in this, but it's really, setting things up. So, I'm really digging this book. And like I said, the artwork's absolutely gorgeous. Next up, we have Klik, Klik, Boom, #1, written by Doug Wagner, with artwork by Doug Dabbs. So there's this girl, a Sprout, and what we find out through the issue is, one, she's mute, so she communicates by taking Polaroids. So that's how she communicates. We find out that her grandfather was killed, and she's on a revenge spree in New York. And so she comes across this girl, Miss Briggs, who's there's something going on with this corporation. And it seems to have to do with Sprout, and there's some sort of connection between the two. And so Sprout rescues her because the corporation goes after Briggs. And it was really an interesting story. A lot of it's told very visually without dialogue because the fact that Sprout is mute, she can't talk. It was really interesting how she speaks through Polaroids, and it's really an interesting concept. I really like this first issue. The artwork by Dabbs is really, really nice. It's well worth checking out this week. I really, really like this book. Next up, we have Clobberin Time, #4, written and drawn by Steve Skroke. So this issue, Ben gets thrown into this like void dimension, and luckily for him, Dr. Doom is there, and so they're both trapped, and Doom is trying to knows how they can get out of there, but has to like take time to figure out how to open the portal to get back. And we also find out that the villain of the story has captured a rogue watcher, and that's how he's able to travel through time and everything. So that's going on in the background. And just the fact I love that Dr. Doom has to team up with Ben is freaking hilarious, and there's a lot of fun stuff in this issue. I really dig this book. I mean, obviously Skroke's artwork is just absolutely gorgeous, but the story has just been a blast. And I like how every issue kind of has a different character that joins Ben in the journey. So I'm really liking this. The next issue is going to be last one, so we'll kind of see where it all ends. But I'm really digging this book, and of course, like I said, the story is fun and the artwork's gorgeous. Next up, we have the Haunt You to the End. There's a mouthful for me. Written by Ryan Cady. With artwork by Andrea Mutai. So what this is Mr. Shaw is a billionaire. He's hired this reporter, Matt, who doesn't really believe in ghosts and stuff like that. And this billionaire has found out that this island is haunted. But because it's post-apocalyptic, the ice caps have melted and stuff like this, that the island is going to be underwater in like 3 or 4 days. So so the company that owns this haunted island has allowed him to go there. And then of course they go to the island, and just the plane ride does not work out well. They make it, but we already know that things are. Yeah, it's a haunted island, folks. It was really interesting. I like the premise and everything. It's a good concept. It's a haunted house type story. But I really like, once again, I'm a big fan of Mutai's artwork, and It's an interesting story. If you're a horror fan, I think it's worth checking out. And like I said, the artwork by Mutai is really great. It's a nice creepy story. Next up, we have Superman Lost #4, written by Christopher Priest. That goes by Priest, with artwork by Carlos Pagalon, with inks by Jason Paz. So Superman has basically been, sucked into like a black hole. He's out in space. And so the last issue, he was given the suit that allows him to absorb solar energy so he can go on the journey. And things didn't work out. He broke his communicator. So he ends up going back to the planet where he got the suit. And so that world has kind of like two opposite sides. There's the side where oxygen can be breathed, and then there's the side where carbon dioxide is basically being breathed, and they can't really go back and forth. But one of the kids that he met, and of course it's now time has passed, that kid is now, a young adult, and Clark named him Jimmy. And so he comes, and we find out that the oxygen people have sold the other side out for scrap, and so Superman tries to help them and everything. I don't want to really give any more away, but I'm really digging this book. It is really wonderful. The story is really amazing. It's really a great introspective of Clark himself, or Kal-El, and I really like it. And then of course, Pagelin's artwork. This is a really gorgeous book. I'm really digging this. This is really a very good Superman story, and I'm really, really digging it. Definitely still worth checking it out. Next up, we have a couple that we missed last week. So we have Money Shot Comes Again, #2, written by Tim Seeley and Giselle, with artwork by Giselle Legace. This issue, so first of all, this is kind of a Skinamax, basically. It kind of has sex, but you don't see everything. And so what it is these aliens have come, and the Money Shot team basically has to, have sex to carry on the adventure. But this issue guest stars Cherry Pop-Tart. She's a infamous underground comics parody of Archie characters. And so when they get to this planet, or this space station basically kind of thing, they discover these robots that are like copyrighted characters, but they find out because they're that you can use them as a parody. You can have them in the issue, so that's how Cherry Pop-Tart and all that comes out. Look, it's a fun, cheesy book. Seeley, it's goofy fun. Like I said, it's kind of, soft core porn basically, but it has an interesting story, and it's goofy fun. Legace artwork, she's really a good artist. I think she's really perfect for this, and it's just fun. It is what it is. So if that's something that interests you, definitely. But it's cheeky fun. Next up, we have Hairball #3, written by Matt Kent and with artwork by Tyler Jenkins. So Anna has, she's staying at her grandmother's farm, and the cat, the spirit cat that has been haunting her and her adoptive family, obviously follows her. So Anna has kind of figured out she needs to kill the cat. And so she tries to trap it. The cat's pretty smart. I really don't want to give any more away, but I will just say she does catch the cat, but then she discovers that maybe the cat wasn't necessarily evil. So I'll just leave that there. I'm really digging this. This book is freaking creepy. Jenkins' artwork's amazing, but it's for a comic to be, to kind of get under your skin like that is really a difficult thing. And it's, like I said, the story and the artwork is, it's kind of subtle. It's just creepy. It's really good. I love this book, and Jenkins' artwork is just amazing. He's a really great artist, and definitely check this book out. This book's amazing. Next up, we have the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries #9, written by Matthew Cody with artwork by Scott Geralds. So what this is it has a lot of Scooby-Doo villains, specifically like the clown, and he captures, he tries to capture Batman and Scooby, and they have their adventure. Look, once again, the plots in these are not particularly like mind-numbingly brilliant, but I love this book. That's why I always talk about it. They're great. It's just a lot of fun. They're one and done stories. It's a great all ages book. I just love this book to death, and it's just pure fun. And I like how they mix, the Batman universe and the Scooby-Doo universe, and they just, they put villains and heroes. Batgirl's in this, Joker ends up in here. It's just fun and definitely well worth checking out as always. So this week we have two hardcovers that came out. First, there's Spider-Man and the Animals. Spider-Man Animals Assemble, written and drawn by Mike Malek. This is a fun story. It's just Spider-Man and different animals that kind of help save the world, and they find out that Craven's kind of behind it, and it's a lot of fun. I love his artwork. He's all over social media. He just does wonderful artwork, and this is really, he does, I believe it's Cleopatra Jones. Bear with me. Cleopatra in Space graphic novels. That's what he's kind of biggest known for his young adult books. But he does a lot of Marvel and DC, pinups and stuff, on his social media. This was a lot of fun. And look, he put Lockjaw in it. So that's a win for me. I love Lockjaw. So definitely check this out. And it's a nice hardcover. It's only $13. So, and it's a great all ages book. I know it's geared towards kids. Kids are going to love it, but I loved it too. And then we have Night Fever, the new hardcover from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I have not read it, but if their past stuff is any indication, this will be wonderful. And I will say, your comic shop should have gotten, when they place the order, they do include a signed plate by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips for the initial orders for the book. So if you're like in the case of Ryan, he ends up ordering quite a few. I don't know that he gets the exact number, but he does get quite a few of these bookmarks that they do sign. So definitely check with your local comic shop. If you're one, I can recommend this just with their past stuff. Definitely well worth buying for sure. But definitely try to get it as soon as you can, and see if your local comic shop has the signed book plate. Because I'm pretty sure that the ones that go to Amazon and stuff do not get the signed book plate. So definitely check out your local comic shop, and that's it. That's it, kids. It was a big week. Thanks for watching. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner, he's the owner, runs a great store. There's Annie, Eduardo, Wendy, Derek. It's great. Check out their socials. Ryan, every Tuesday night, he does, most every Tuesday night, he does an unboxing of new stuff. So you can see a lot of this stuff, and they talk about it. They have a great Facebook page. For like, you can post stuff and talk, comics with people and stuff. And it's just really great. It's a really great comic store. They offer discounts on their trades and graphic novels every day. If you have a pull service, you get a discount on your new comics. It's a great store, and definitely well worth checking out if you're in the Long Beach area. I highly recommend it. But as always, make sure you support your local comic shop. They're backbone of the industry. They have to pay you for stuff before you buy it. So make sure you pick up your books on a timely basis. That's always important. And as we end our show, we always end it with be kind to each other. Kindness is good for you. It's just, being kind is good for you, and it's good for everyone else. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Just, smiling at somebody while you're out taking a walk, they're walking their dog, just give them a smile. Say hi, open doors for people. Just, it's good for everyone. So, once again, just be kind to each other and be kind to yourself. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comments are great. I'm glad we're getting comments. It's really great that people are interacting and stuff. Suggestions are always welcome. Want to change things up. And once again, the suggestion of putting different books behind me every week was a suggestion. So we did that. So thanks for watching. As always, be kind, take care of yourself, support your local comic shop. This is Steven from popculturemaven.com signing off. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week with more new comic reviews. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.